Hey guys, welcome to the Hunter's Quest podcast. This is your host, Hunter McWaters. I am back home for a few days before heading back on another hunt, and I wanted to drop this recap from my New Mexico elk hunt that I did with Kobe Owens and my cousin Chad. It was an awesome hunt. Unfortunately, my cousin couldn't join us for this recap, but me and Kobe did a pretty thorough, 2-hour recap of the whole hunt on our way to the airport to drop Kobe off. So it's full of lots of really good insights. It's pretty funny, and we're literally driving down the road as we're recording. So if I seem a little distracted or anything like that, it's just I'm driving. But it's a really good podcast. There was light bulbs going off in my head the whole time just as we were breaking it down. So I think it'll be pretty interesting for folks. As always, please go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you can. And if you go to YouTube right now, actually, you can watch this recap. Now, most of the time, the camera's just sitting on the center console, but there are a few times when we pull the camera up and show each other or kind of what we're looking at on the road. So, I don't know, it might be interesting, or if you're listening at work, you can keep it minimized, and then if you hear us mention something, pop it open and see what we're talking about. But there is a video on this podcast. But either way, go to YouTube, search my name, Hunter McWaters. Please subscribe. It's super helpful. And then also leave me a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Lastly, if you need to get some supplements for some of your late seasons coming up, late season hunts that is, go to Mountain Ops, use the code QUEST. You'll help support the show. I want to thank my other partners, Onyx Hunt, Barnes Bullets, Seekins Precision, and Loophole Optics, all great companies that I highly recommend. So go check them out, enjoy this podcast, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Roll and roll. Are you rolling on your mic?
I am rolling on my mic.
I am rolling on my mic.
Oh my God, I wish you guys could see what I'm seeing right now. Okay, so welcome to the Hunter's Quest podcast. This is your host, Hunter McWaters. I'm here with
Kobe Owens,
who I have to say I've been calling Elk Boy. I know that's kind of somebody's handle already on Instagram, but he's just the Elk Boy.
we had a lot of time together in the elk woods out
We did.
here. Well, the elk desert, technically.
Yeah, mainly the elk desert. So we're going to do a little recap of this New Mexico hunt. It was a roller coaster of a hunt, a good hunt. We're a little bit fried. We had a pack out last night.
That we did.
And I never really sleep good after pack outs. I don't know if it's the exertion or the adrenaline from that day or both, but I never sleep good after a pack out and kill day.
Yeah, I slept great last night, but I know that to be a thing with others, and I've had it happen a time or two where you're so tired and you've exerted so much energy that for some reason your body just is like, nope, I'm gonna not sleep.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But anyway, also guys, if you're just listening, I'm driving through New Mexico right now, so if I sound a little distracted, I might be, but we are literally cruising from our unit to the airport for Kobe to go on another hunt. And it was, we were talking earlier, it's really crazy about just meeting. We met for a little bit at the expo. We had lunch or dinner together with a group. And I could tell you were cool, and I heard good things about your work. And but we only had that little bit of time, and then we jumped into all day, every day together for probably 6 days now?
Yeah. What day is it? It is the 18th, and we rolled in on the 11th, so this is day 7.
Okay, yeah. So, and guys, I am not exaggerating right now when I say that I've worked with not a ton of different guys like Kobe, but a fair amount, and I have a ton of respect for you, Kobe, just with your work ethic, and your skills with the camera, but also, guys, what you might not know about Kobe is he's a killer elk hunter.
Appreciate it. Yeah. I grew up elk hunting. That is what lights a fire underneath me. I was a hunter long before I was a hunting photographer, filmmaker.
Yeah.
That is the root of the existence.
In a good way.
Yeah. But I grew up elk hunting in Montana. I grew up in a small town in the mountains in Montana.
Deer Lodge, right?
Deer Lodge, yep. So born and
What
raised
a
there.
cool name for a hometown. Deer Lodge.
Yeah, it is pretty sweet. So grew up just running the mountains, hunting, fishing, exploring, camping with the family. And then number of years, let's see, I was probably a senior in high school. It's just about, when was it, 7 years ago, somewhere in there. Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, yeah.
But I saw an image by Stephen Drake. And it is this shed antler laying on the ground and a bull elk with his antlers on in the background. And it just blew my mind. I was like, what? I can combine hunting and photography? Because just that last spring I had gotten into photography. I'd always loved taking pictures with like disposable cameras growing up. And had a thing for...
We never talked about this yet, how you got into it.
Yeah. So I picked up a camera that spring, and I actually took a picture of the northern lights at my hunting cabin.
Oh, nice.
And from that moment on, I was hooked.
So that's why you're a nighttime photography guru.
Yeah, I literally learned how to take pictures of the stars and at night and manually expose before I learned how to take pictures during the day.
Guys, literally 5 minutes before this podcast, somebody calls him. He's like, yeah, what's up, bro? And he's like, okay, you start bending the S-curves down this way, and your shadows should be blue and something about gold, and that'll make the milk pop.
I refer to the Milky Way as the milk.
But anyway, what I wanted to say is you just eat, breathe, and sleep this stuff, and it shows.
It is, it's truly my life. I love it. I've been freelancing for, going on, we're pushing 2 years here, and this is actually my last freelance project.
So wild. I'm so glad I snagged you up, because what are you doing now?
I am now the in-house content producer for Weatherby in Sheridan, Wyoming.
Nice.
I've been there a couple weeks and then took off to do this gig, and going back to immediately hit the mountain for a sheep hunt with them. So it's been an incredible transition. The grind to get there is something I will never forget and has made me what I am and who I am. But to find myself in this new position is pretty surreal for where I came from.
Yeah, man, and it's it's so interesting to me because I've talked about this on a lot of podcasts before, but just coming from completely different sides of the country, there really is a difference just in mindset and, just how I grew up hunting versus how you grew up hunting. And so it's so fun for me to jump into that 100% and it's almost like learning to hunt all over again, It's like it's like a second chance of starting from scratch because it's so different than the way I grew up hunting, which was, in the marshes and farm flats and whatnot of Virginia. So anyway, man, like I said, have a ton of respect for you, man. You helped me out so much on this hunt, taught me a lot of stuff about elk hunting. So I'm really stoked we got to work together on this hunt and that I had you along for it with me. Yeah,
it was a dang good time and happy I could be here to help you along the way and help you learn about elk, because I love elk. I respect them as much or more than anything, and they're truly just so special to me.
Yeah, I'm starting to see why, man. But anyway, this hunt was really cool, guys. So now that you know a little bit about Kobe, let's just recap this hunt a little bit, and we'll just kind of flow with it. I don't have a agenda other than just recapping because I'm also driving here, but
because it was a wild one.
It was wild. I'm still processing it.
To put it lightly, it was a wild one.
It takes a couple days to kind of process these things sometimes, but it was a wild one. So me and Kobe got there 2 days early to scout, which is, in my opinion, a good idea. If you're putting fresh boots on the ground somewhere, anytime you get there a day or two early, even just get camp set up before the weekend guys come in or whatever, it's just so valuable.
Yeah, to get your spot established and just familiarize yourself with an area, especially being in quite different terrain, even for both of us, being from Montana, and stepping foot into the desert. I told you coming in, like, hey, I know elk really well, but I know elk where I'm from really well. Right. I don't know how they are going to differentiate in this different environment. And so being able to just check boxes of, okay, there's sign in this spot, there's not sign in this spot, there's elk in this spot, there's not elk here, this road's good, that road's not good.
Yeah.
That gets you 2-3 steps ahead immediately.
Absolutely. And you got to start from the 10,000 foot view. So I had e-scouted this basically. I kind of broke the unit into 3 pieces, just to kind of make into manageable chunks. And then I started talking to some friends that like have hunted out there before, and they're basically telling me there's elk in all the parts of the unit. It just kind of depends on what like terrain you want to hunt. And it's basically like higher alpine kind of dark timber forest, and then there's like rolling hills, almost similar to like Badlands kind of country, but deserty, and that's what we were in for most of the trip.
Yeah.
But once we got our campsite established, we just got like, there was like not like a hard climb, but like enough to scare away a pretty good amount of people. Like, like how was it, like 200-300 feet?
Oh no, it was more than that. I'd say it was probably pushing 500-600 feet elevation gain. But the thing with that is we also kind of determined that in this area there are quite a few roads, and there's going to be quite a bit of ATV road hunters, especially the locals within the area.
Yep.
So we determined that if we're able to get off the beaten path just a little bit more, A, we're going to get away from that hunting pressure, and B, we might find more elk, bigger elk type of deal. Yeah. Just being able to put forth that effort.
100%. So it was pretty cool because, hold on, I gotta change lanes here. I kind of lost my train of thought, but it was pretty cool because we went basically from our camp, went up like straight behind our camp. It just went like up, like 500-600 feet, like Kobe said, and it was like you just entered another world. It was like you have entered the elk realm.
Yeah,
and like there was elk right there.
We were hearing bugles from camp at night.
Oh yeah.
But I think we need to take a step back here too. In our first day of scouting, it was successful. Yes. But it was unsuccessful, right? Why don't you
that's a good.
That?
Yeah, thank you. That's actually where I lost my train of thought. So you reminded me. Good. The first day, we basically, one of the larger chunks I had narrowed the unit down into was not really accessible by truck, but we actually were fortunate we had an ATV. And this was a little bit more desert, a little bit more arid.
And a big burn had gone through about 10 years ago.
Yeah, burn area. And I found lots of tanks, which is what they call the water, stuff out here, where, those are areas you always want to check for elk sign, especially like early on in scouting. So we went down there in the ATV and kind of spent, I don't know, a good chunk of that day on that ATV exploring that, just checking tanks and looking for sign. And we didn't see a whole lot of sign.
No, we spent over half the day there. I got my hands vibrated off, and it was dusty. It was dry, and that fire had really wiped a lot of the cover. There was a little bit, but I was expecting there to be a little bit better regeneration, and but most of the cover was just gone.
Yep.
And we all those tanks that we checked were actually dry.
Yep,
none of them had water in it. And so instantly we kind of marked that place off the map. We found 2 or 3 fresh elk rubs, a couple piles of fresh scat, and other than that, we were like, man, I don't think we're going to even come back here unless it's Hail Mary.
Even the one tank we did find with water had like 1 cow track in it.
It was like an inch of water too. It was not much.
Yeah. So we crossed it off the list, and then we found this area where we ended up staying, where it was just a little piece of access from the road onto some public, but it was actually like, although it was really right off a pretty busy road, it was a good campsite. It was like flat, the trees, a little stream right by.
Yeah.
So it wasn't bad, other than the cars and the dogs.
Yeah, the dogs. Yeah, that's another story though.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of funny. We were up at that last tank that we were checking, and I was looking on Onyx, and I'm like, man, like, I think this area looks pretty good. You're like, hey, I have a pin like right there too that we need to check this area.
Yeah.
So like, all right, let's.
That's interesting. So you just looked at that, and you're like, this looks like elky type terrain.
Yeah.
And then that was the spot that I'd also identified as we need to check out.
Well, because up on that hill, we could see those rolling hills from up
it was
where
more
we were,
vegetation,
and there was a lot more cover. And it just, to me, is like if I was an elk, I would not be where I'm standing right now. I'd be over there.
Too dry and hot, not enough cover. Exactly.
So,
which when we finally did get up into that stuff, I was amazed how green it was too.
It was
very green. But yeah, so anyway, we got to that second area. We weren't sure like if we were gonna camp and like commit there yet.
But we went in that evening.
We went, exactly. We went in the glass, and we found, like, for me, a shooter bull like a mile in.
Dude, we were up that hill, and 10 minutes after getting up that hill,
we heard bugle.
It was windy. I remember it was so windy that day.
It was super windy.
And we like hardly heard
probably
this
like 40 mile an hour gusts.
At least. Like it was really windy. The audio for that day will be interesting.
Yeah.
But
and the long range footage too, but
yeah. Well, immediately we heard that bugle and we're like, well, let's kind of work that way and see what we can see, and we immediately found him.
Yeah.
But we found his little buddy first, and I was like, man, that does not sound like that elk is making that bugle. Like, that's a little
I was
rag.
all excited even when we saw the rag, though.
That's a little 4-point, and I'm like, that is a lot bigger bugle than that elk is making.
Yeah. And I felt so, too, but also I haven't heard a ton of bugles, but it didn't seem like that matched that little guy. But anyway, it was really cool to see some elk. And we're like, and we heard other bugles too. Was that the night that I walked up on the one?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was. So then we decide to circle around and like, okay, we got elk here. Let's go check further into the drainage.
Yeah. So we went kind of around so they wouldn't wind us.
Yep.
And we went further down to a better like glassing spot, and we sat there. And you went down and checked the tank.
Went down, checked the tank.
I sat up top in glass, and as soon as you got back, you saw a bull like off in the distance, right?
And immediately I was like, that is a good bull.
Yeah.
I got a glimpse of him for 10, 15 seconds and really couldn't break him down that hard, but he was, as soon as I put eyes on him, knew he was better than a 300 class bull, and was like, yep, okay, we found a nice little spot here.
Yeah, yep. And I think we were hearing other bugles around, too. Then on the way back, we're walking back like right at the end of shooting light. Of course, we're still scouting. We don't have weapons, or I don't have a weapon, and we're walking back, and I just we're like, I'm not sneaking or anything. We haven't heard anything bugle close to us, and so we're just kind of like walking back to camp. And I look up as I crest this ridge. I probably should have been walking more carefully, and I'm just like, but I crest this ridge and I look up and there's just a bull at like 20 yards from me, like a nice one.
Yeah. And you got some nice footage of him.
Yep.
And then he stared you down and went on his way. He didn't really, I call it a soft bump. Like he was like, yeah, something's up, but I'm not really sure what's up. I'm gonna get out of here. Yeah,
it wasn't too bad of a bump, but basically we knew there was tons of elk up there, so we kind of decided, I think, we went back in the next morning, but after that we decided, okay, there's elk here, we don't need to scout this anymore, like, we're staying. That night we kind of crashed and didn't really set up camp, just like you slept in the back of the truck, which you ended up doing the whole time.
Yeah,
but
as in the back of the truck, the bed of the truck, just cowboy camp, just put my pad down and sleeping bag and let it rip.
All week. But we hadn't committed yet, like mentally. So, but we went in the next morning. Again, we saw even more elk, I think. And then we were like, there's no reason to be just walking around in here before the season. We know they're in here. Let's back out and maybe go check another spot or just go set up camp. And I think we just like set up camp that night. And my cousin rolled in.
We crossed the drainage and went over to the other side. And heard the elk bugling here, heard the elk bugling there. we heard like 5 different sets of bugles, and then confirmed there were more elk over there. I saw that broken bull.
Yep.
And then it was like 9 a.m. and we were just like, well, we're hunting here tomorrow no matter what. Yeah. Let's just get out of here. We went, shot your muzzleloader, set up camp.
Thank you, dude. I don't even remember what happened. I'm so fried right now.
And then, your cousin rolled in.
Yeah, so that's another kind of important thing to mention. So any kind of hunt like this, especially this one, it's like an open site. So again, this is the first time New Mexico's gone to open site, no optic, this year on muzzleloaders. So I'm shooting a CVA Acura LRX with a peep sight on it. So my effective range, like I told myself I would take a 150 if I have to, but I'd really like to be 100 or in. So anyway, all I have to say is we went out to the desert and like verified my gun was still zeroed, and then went and set up camp. And then my cousin rolled in, who I've taken him on one antelope hunt, and he got a doe, but he's not like he's more of a casual hunter, I guess, and he doesn't really hunt out west. And so, but I just knew it'd be fun to have my cousin there, like just for the experience.
Yeah, and he's been on a lot of your firsts with you, as you've explained. So
yeah, he was there with me. So if you guys go back and listen to like probably one of the first 10 episodes of the podcast, he was with me on my first like little public land excursion where I ended up shooting a hole in the floorboard of my truck with the 30-30. I didn't tell you that story, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I did tell you that.
You did tell me
anyway,
that story.
He's been there for a lot of my firsts and like big life experiences hunting. Like when I took him out and he killed that doe, that was the first time I led a DIY Western hunt trip out of state. Kind of, I walked everybody through the process of getting a point, drawing the unit, and anyway, we don't have to go down that rabbit hole too much. But my cousin came in, we set up camp, and then we were like ready to go in there in the morning and freaking maybe kill an elk.
Yeah, I found a road shed.
Oh yeah, tell him about the road shed. He's
so
really excited about this road shed, like really excited.
It's this small little 3-point.
Even though you gave it away,
shed.
You're just more excited that you found it than you actually have in the shed.
Yeah, you don't just find a road shed on public land. This thing is off a major highway.
I think that's why you could see it, because like people were just going 60 miles.
But there was that turnout right there.
That's true.
And we pulled out of our little campsite. We're getting ready to go shoot the muzzleloader, and I just look across. I'm like, there's a deer shed sitting right there, like 5 yards across the fence line next to the highway. It'd been there for, I determined, probably 3 years or so.
Jeez.
But, yeah, that was good. Another note of the night is your cousin pulled out his boots. We both look at each other and go, we didn't say anything, but the look in our eyes was both like, oh boy.
He's effed. Dude, okay, so shout out to my cousin. He did a pretty good job. He does not do this stuff at all, folks. So, great guy, but just had no idea what he was doing. I did my best to prepare him, but he's a very busy guy, and he didn't really do his homework. I knew he wouldn't. So, Chad, if you're listening, I love you. You did great. We're happy you were there. He killed it. He killed it. But he wasn't completely prepared, like, gear-wise, because he doesn't do this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, he pulls out his boots. One's, like, a very old pair of lacrosse boots, but they're, designed for whitetail hunting. And then some also very old, like, casual Timberlands. So,
he went with the lacrosses.
He
did,
yeah.
Yeah.
That'll emerge
come up
later, in the story.
Yeah, let's roll into opening morning.
Okay, opening morning. Basically, and again, it's like you climb this little hill and you just entered into like elk world. That's what I keep calling it. Elk. It's like the real world's down there, camp and cars and houses and dogs, and then it's like you enter elk world. Mm-hmm. And there was nobody else up there, guys. We did see one other dude roll. He kind of like rolled by our camp the night before the opener to glass it. But I talked to him. He's a nice guy. He was checking in there for a client, actually, and dipped. And we never saw him again after that, except for we saw him at the diner this morning.
Yeah, our hunt started and ended with old Cody.
Yeah, so shout out, Cody, if you're listening. But anyway, another interesting thing about the hunt that can always be kind of worrisome if you're coming from a big out-of-state hunt is pressure, and that was a non-issue for us on this hunt.
We never saw another human being besides Cody rolling through camp that night. And the good thing about your discussion with him is he was looking for a big bull for a client, and But he essentially told us, he's like, there's elk everywhere up there.
Yeah.
The night before the opener, and we already knew that, but I could just tell in his voice, him being a guide, that some more elk had even rolled in. And so when we got up there that morning, man,
oh yeah, and this is the night where they were literally firing off like 200 yards before our camp all night, dude. Just going off. So that was pretty sick.
That was sweet.
And so anyway, we get up there the next morning. I don't know. Once I'm kind of fuzzy. You probably could tell it better anyway.
Yeah. So we roll up there next morning, and we're in the dark, and we bump an elk. Remember? Right away. We bumped that elk before the fence line. Before the fence line on the top, and then we hear bugle, 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 all in different locations, like just immediately. And so we advance a little bit further, and our wind is not good for the closest bugle. It's going downhill, and then we have the other close bugle, which I think is potentially the bull that we had spotted, the first bull we had spotted.
Yeah.
It's coming from that general vicinity on the ridge top. And then while we're sitting there, we spot the big bull back in the canyon.
Mm-hmm.
And we're pretty sure it's the same one I had spotted the day, 2 days prior now.
Yeah. This is beautiful country right here, by the way.
This is gorgeous. It's
I wish you'd see. Oh, just take a shot really quick.
Yeah.
If someone is randomly listening on YouTube, look right now. We're driving through a really cool spot. Sorry to cut you off, dude.
all good.
What were you saying?
It is sweet though. We're
it's
rolling.
interesting. Really quick, guys. I just want to say it's interesting listening to Kobe break it down because he's coming from a very rational elk hunter brain. At this point, I'm in like I don't know what's going on. I'm just excited. There's bugles going on everywhere. Like I'm kind of like it's almost like I entered an elk war zone and I'm like in like the fog of war. And like that's why I was so glad Kobe was there because he could just, you know, I think I got better as time went on, but Kobe, just because he knows what he's doing elk hunting, like could help us formulate like logical, coherent plans when there's like freaking elks just ripping off all around you in every direction.
Yeah. So I basically give you a choice. I'm like, there's the elk below us. There's elk in front of us. We're taking footage of the big bull in front of us. I was like, what direction are we going? Like, you got to make a decision. We can't sit here and waver and just look at these elk. And you're like,
okay, interesting.
Let's go that way.
Okay. Which way was it? I forget.
The big bull.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I was like, good decision. Let's go.
I remember. Actually, my cousin was like, I remember the moment now. We're taking footage, and then I think I said, all right, well, if we're going to go for one, let's go for the big one.
Yeah.
And then my cousin was like, you going for him? I was like, yeah. He's like, he gave me that like nod, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I guess it probably would have been, I think it was closer to get to the one on the bottom. Or
but
like,
our wind was bad. We were going to have to circle, and he was there, but we couldn't
which
see
he was a
him.
nice bull too. But it seemed like my gut reaction, just going back and analyzing it now, is that like it felt like if we dropped in the bottom, it would be really thick, and they were like up and moving. There's a lot of eyes. There's a lot of cows. Like it would be hard to stalk in on them. I feel like without them busting us.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Or no? I definitely that play was just a tough one, going down into the bottom because our wind was bad. Like my saying that I told you a lot of times throughout this trip.
Yep.
Is you can fool elk ears once. I'm saying it wrong right now, but you can
ears twice, eyes once.
Ears twice, eyes once. You can't fool their nose.
Yeah.
Your wind is your biggest asset when you're elk hunting. Like they get your wind and they are gone. They are like hard bust immediately. They hear a rock kick or twig break like once, twice. That's normal. Elk make noise in elk woods. They're used to that. If they see something, you can fool them if you just stay still. Like I've been under 10 yards. I've been under 10 yards from cows, standing in the broad open sunlight in solids, and had a cow walk away from me and not bust. If you move though, then they'll bust. So you can fool their eyes once, you can fool their ears twice, but you cannot fool their nose. So to me, you made the right decision on the play, but also this isn't an everyday tag for anyone, and there's a lot of mature bulls running around. So when you made the decision to go for the bigger one, immediately I was like, yes, that is the right decision in this.
Of course.
I mean, if
you have options, you got to at least try to go for the big one.
So we work our way over there.
Yeah.
And
we did a pretty good job getting over like in rifle range.
Yeah.
We couldn't close the like muzzleloader gap before they worked over the next side.
But when we got over there was cows and bulls everywhere.
Yeah. There's 2 nice bulls at least.
2 really nice bulls. Bunch of satellites or raghorns. You'll hear us refer to the smaller bulls as raghorns or satellites.
Yeah.
So yeah, we made a nice stock down in there. Didn't get spotted or busted by anything. But yeah, they just
naturally were working away from us.
Yep, they worked over that ridge. So we went back, grabbed your cuz.
Yeah, and then that's when I think the one in the bottom was still just ripping like the whole time.
A different one in the bottom.
Right.
Now. Yeah.
Was it a different one than the first one we saw?
Yeah, that one stayed back behind us. There was a new one down in the bottom.
Well, anyway, there was elk in the bottom.
Yeah.
And like we were kind of like, well, let's go try it. So we went down there, but it was really thick, and then that elk ended up working up the draw to go bed. I think.
Yeah. So we made a play down on them, but it was just at that time of the morning where they're working to their beds, and ultimately we got, I believe, within muzzleloader range, but it was so thick down there, and then all of a sudden the bugle's more distant, and you're just like, whoa, what happened? I'm like, oh, well, they're working up the other side into the thick stuff up towards like 3/4 of the way up the next hillside to go to their bedding area for the day. So,
and man, just even as we're talking about this, like I I'm realizing even more and more now, like how this was such a unique hunt. Like, so I've done a lot of deer hunting, and even though mule deer hunting is very different from whitetail hunting, it's still a deer. This is a completely different animal, and it acts different, and how you hunt it is different. And so it was like more different, I guess, than I was expecting.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I think that this is an assumption I made about your thought process of it is your thoughts on it is that elk were gonna kind of stay within that area that you see them in, but think of elk as like nomadic, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Like they're moving through country. Yeah, sometimes they'll get up and feed on the same hillside a couple days in a row, but like they're moving through country. They're actively moving. There's not a lot of times you see that same elk in that same exact spot, where deer are creatures of habit. Deer are gonna bed in that same bed, feed out on that same hillside. Elk are not. Think of them more nomadic. Okay.
So yeah, guys, it's a totally different creature, and so that just makes it even cooler. Like, it was such a cool, like, it was so much to take in on my senses and my brain, like, that I'm seriously, it's like some of it's sinking in right now as we talk about it. It's kind of why I like doing these podcasts. But, well, it's just such a different animal, man.
When we were out there, when we went through stalks and got done with stalks, what did I make us do? I made us debrief. We had to analyze the situation, be like, okay, what did you think you did good? What did you think you didn't do good?
Yep.
What did you think you could do better? I had you say it, and then I told you what I thought.
You went into straight coach mode after that first blown stalk, dude.
Yeah.
No, that was good. That's what I was saying to my cousin. I was like, this is my trick, man. I just hire cinematographers who are better elk hunters than me, or whatever hunters. No, but we broke it down. So, okay, we kind of got off track there, but after that bottom play that didn't work out,
the solar eclipse happened.
Yes.
You're like, why is this lighting getting weird? I'm like, we're like, oh, solar eclipse is happening.
That was so cool. Dude, I forgot about that.
That's so much happens. Like, there's so much time in the day, especially when you're out there all day.
Yeah.
So much happens that all the days blend together, and it is hard to like break it down and remember.
They do. So yeah,
unless you literally do this.
Yeah, like I'm so glad we're doing this.
So
solar eclipse. Yeah, the lighting just got really like it was like dusk, but different than dusk. It was kind of unique. But anyway,
it was a super diffused lighting, and then the temperature dropped like 20 degrees.
Yeah.
But
really cool.
We spent the day out there, snapped.
Yep.
Just
those desert bulls don't do anything during the middle of the day.
They do some bed bugling, and
that's
then,
true. We heard some bed bugling.
We saw them come out on their hillside up top, and just determined that there wasn't a good play to make. So started working our way back towards camp, and what happened there?
Oh yeah. So we're heading back to camp, and again, the same thing. We heard a bugle, like probably 200 yards from us?
200-300 yards, yeah.
And we were actively walking back at this point, weren't we?
Yep.
So we were literally walking back, not necessarily to camp, but like on the way to camp. Yeah, we were hunting to camp, exactly, until end of legal hours, and probably 30 or 45 minutes between end of hours, or an hour maybe?
Yeah, under an hour, I'd say.
Yeah, under an hour. We hear a bugle like 200 yards from us on the same ridgetop we're on. So we start sneaking over there, all three of us. Check our wind. Yeah, always got to check the wind. I use probably the entire bottle of wind checker, which
you should.
Yeah. So
I was a Nazi with that thing. Check your wind.
But I after the first day, I was doing it constantly.
Yeah, you were.
But yeah, that's another thing, dude. You got to check that wind. But so anyway, walking in, and then I don't know. I wasn't paying attention enough, and I was messing with some unneeded gear, and I think I was just kind of tired. I don't know. I wasn't taking my time, and we ended up busting that elk. He was in his bed.
Yeah, I mean, probably 60 yards. We watched him just get up out of his bed, and he took off, and we saw another cow and calf, and that was just kind of.
So you think I was just going too fast and too careless, kind of, or what do you think?
Yeah, but I don't. Even if you were being sneaky, that still would have been a really tough situation to get a shot off in.
Yeah.
It was also bedded, which all the other elk we had seen were getting up on their feet and feeding.
I was not expecting to be looking for a bedded elk.
I really wasn't expecting to be looking for a bedded elk either. And you couldn't see him until he stood out of his bed, and you didn't see him. I watched him stand out of his bed, but that's the last time you really used that tripod. Remember?
Yeah, that's true.
Because I was brutally honest with you this whole trip on stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I just told you, I was like,
I'm glad
you're not going to have a chance to, under 100 yards on an elk, set up a tripod to get
stupid.
It on there.
That was like a crutch, honestly. I was,
But you didn't know.
But here's the thing, too. Like, just going back to the style of hunting, what I'm used to this point is see an animal, go after it, and try to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
Not it's different from stalking up on. It's not this. It's different.
With the muzzleloader too. It's I called it a glorified archery hunt.
Yes.
You have a little bit more range, and you don't have to draw back, but you still have to get in their bubble, as I call it.
Yes.
And closing that last distance with elk is so hard.
Yeah. Thank you. You articulated that well. So anyway,
that was end of
opening day. Yeah. We headed back. They weren't really. They bugled some that night, but not the first night.
I don't know. I slept through it.
Yeah, he slept. Okay, that's pretty much all that happened, wasn't it, that day?
Yeah, that's it.
So next day we wake up. Okay, the next day I said let's go to. There's kind of an initial spot right after that first ascent from out of our camp where we could glass this basin that we've been kind of hunting to this point. We knew had multiple elk in it the day before. So we went up there. We didn't hear as much that morning, and we kind of already had the plan of heading to the opposite ridge, the one we were glassing the previous night, because that's where all the elk had pretty much went up onto, the direction they were going. So we went over on that side, and when we got about halfway up that finger, we heard a bugle on the opposite, the next basin over, the next drainage over. And so we worked up that finger ridge, trying to keep even with that bugle, and then
because we kind of saw him.
This is when the boot happened, right?
Yeah, but we saw a cow and a calf.
Yeah.
And that bull, and that was that nice bull that that's the first bull we actually saw when we went into scout.
I never even saw him. I just saw the cow and calf.
And I saw him and was like, hey, he's working down the ridge.
Yeah.
But we saw that bull multiple times. He was the good mass, small back end bull.
Okay,
that we saw scouting day one.
Yep, okay.
But we watched him.
Wait, the first bull we saw?
Yeah, that was the first bull we saw.
Oh, wow, he'd gone all the way over there.
Yeah. Because he was also the bull that we watched that night on that face, working that way with the cow and the calf, remember?
Man, it's crazy. You can tell him. Like, I can't even. It just comes from, like, not looking at that many elk, I guess. But, he can look at the bull pretty soon and identify if he's seen it before, which one it is.
And there was a number of them in there, though, that had such a similar frame. I'm like, I'm not really sure.
There was a lot of very similar framed, like, mature, nice bulls.
Yep. But, anyway, back to the little stock here is he kind of worked a little bit uphill, and our wind was decent, but we thought he might be moving to a spot, and we wanted to try and get ahead and cut him off and work back into him.
Yeah.
So we crest that ridge, and we can't see him, right? Remember that? But we spot those two other herds. We spot two other herds.
Yeah.
Even the next ridge over.
Yeah.
So we decide to go after one of those. So we drop down into the drainage, and at this point, you got to tell this part. And so we're like just starting to drop into this drainage, and then I'm like, oh wait, that bull is still there. He just moved a little bit. So we respot him. I'm like, well, he's the closer one. Let's try and put a stock on him, and then we have two other plays we can make. Because that's one of the big things in this hunting them at close quarters is if you mess up a stock, if you have another option of like another herd over there to go play on, you should play one to then go play the other.
Yeah, I saw you doing that. That's a really good point. I saw Kobe doing that a bunch of times where you're leaving yourself other options to hunt, you know? Mm-hmm. That's important. I think that's
because
a good takeaway.
If we would have just gone to those other ones,
you blow the other ones.
You blow the one in front of you away. But we decide we're going after this bull that we had spotted first, and we're 3/4 of the way down this hill. We're in cover, and I just hear, "Hey, Kobe!" And Chad just lifts his foot up, and the sole of his boot is hanging on by a thread. It is just flopping.
Oh my god!
And he's like, "You guys go. I'll stay here." And he said when he was coming down the hill, he's like, "Man, why is someone high-fiving the bottom of my boot?" Because the sole was slapping the bottom of his boot. So that's where these dang lacrosse boots come into play.
They exploded, basically.
Footwear is so dang essential. And this is some of the gnarliest, like, walking terrain. It's this gnarly...
If you could imagine, like, the worst place to ever field test a boot, this is it. It's like boot hell.
Because it's limestone. And limestone is super jagged and erodes very uniquely. So it has sharp edges, and it's, like, resistant to weather. And so it will... really wreak havoc on
it's like walking on knives and stuff.
On your boots. So
and also something to mention that's cool about the terrain is literally like every 5 steps, if you're looking down, you'll see like fossilized snails everywhere.
There's a bunch of fossil
and then Kobe found a sick like big like looked like a nautilus, like
I don't know what it is, but it's a big cool fossil
snail thing, and he gave it to me, which is nice. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah. I kind of regret that, but
well, it's one of my it's gonna have a place of pride on my shelf.
Awesome. Then we continue without Cuzzo.
Yep, continue without Cuzzo because literally his boots fell apart, and I texted him at least 2 months before this hunt like a list of stuff because I wanted him to have it in writing. I also talked to him in person. I didn't just text him. I talked to him in person as well. But I gave him a list. Number 1 on the list, boots. I was like, footwear will ruin or make or break a hunt. Like, have your boots squared. And, of course, he didn't. But that's just Cuzzo, you know?
It's all right.
But anyway, he had to eventually... we got to tell the whole winding story.
We blow out a little raghorn in the bottom, and we kind of think that raghorn pushed the bull that we were stalking away, so that stalk didn't happen.
But you did say just like give it a few seconds. That doesn't always take the herd bull out,
Yep.
which came into play later too.
Yes. So as we blew that, and I'm like, hey, just settle for a minute. Don't keep advancing, because when an elk blows out, other elk are super tuned in on that spot. And so if you don't emerge immediately, you have a chance.
Wow, yeah. So
But
that's important. Look at that.
Whoa, we got some lava flows.
We're driving
here.
through black lava flows right
That's
now.
wicked.
So we get down there, we bust that one bull, and Kobe's like, all right, just chill, it's fine, give it a second. We just waited, like 30 seconds or something? Maybe a minute. Maybe a minute, okay.
Yeah.
And then we pushed on. At this point, we get up, we don't find that bull, but we get up on this next little ridge. If you guys are watching YouTube, go
Valley
check it
of
out.
Fires, it's called.
We're driving through the Valley of Fires. Interestingly, I've driven through this before. It's really cool. It's like these black magma stones. Check out the YouTube version of this, guys. And I'm sorry we're not doing more video, but we're just kind of breaking it down. But anyway, and we're driving. So at this point, we identify another bull, and he's over there. Okay, Kobe's setting the camera up, so you may watch and see us just driving down the highway. I don't know, does that work if we just like wedge it in there? No? Okay. Anyway, we see a bull, and he's got like 4 cows with him, and one of them's bedded, the other ones look like they might bed soon, so we just decided to watch him, and we find out that we realized after watching him for a second, he beds, and he was just probably 500 yards as the crow flies. Here, just put my jacket under it.
First bedded bull we've had a chance to try and make a play on.
The first and only bedded bull we had a play on the whole time. Just cram the whole thing up there, it's fine. All right, now if you guys want to watch, you can see the road as we're cruising down the highway on YouTube. Search my name, Hunter McWaters. That's how you find it. Anyway, so I watch him bed, and we decide we're going to work around the basin, get on top of him, and then try to make a play. Yeah, whatever. So Kobe's messing with stuff, so I'm just going to keep telling the story. We work around the basin. We get to the top. We think we're about 150 to 200 yards from the bedded bull because, we got to add this. We used Onyx. They have like this rangefinder tool. And we were able to put a pin like pretty dang close to where this bull was, like very close. Even like, I don't know, probably within 20 yards or less. So we're around the basin, stalking in. How did I do on that stalk, Cobes?
Good. The other thing I'm going to mention is when you are making a stalk like this, you should predetermine some landmarks that are easily findable once you're closing in. So we had this deadfall snag log that was laying on the ground. We're like, okay, he's probably 50 yards underneath this. And it's hard to determine actually how far elk or the animal is on that landscape on the hillside across. Like it looks like there's more span in between.
It's very hard if you're coming from not identifying terrain like you are, which is already difficult for you're saying. Coming from me, who I'm still very much learning about this part of the hunt, you really have to make markers, or else you're gonna lose that thing. It's real. Once you start moving quite a bit of different distance, it's pretty hard to identify what you're looking at. But on
this stalk, you did good on you concentrated on your walking and your foot placement and where you were doing, but not overly. And you slowed down a little bit more finally. The first couple, in my opinion, were just moving a little quick, just trying to get to that animal, right? And but in this situation, I said, hey, we have all the time in the world, just take it easy. So we get down in there, and what happened?
So I was just thinking about how I was just thinking about a stalk and how I like you said, I was really in my mind, there's an animal there, let's get to it, as opposed to you really got to just say, I'm going to cover ground and get close, and with every inch I move, I'm analyzing terrain, looking for a leg, looking for an ear flicker, a piece of antler, you got to really focus and move quietly. So a lot of times on these stalks, I'd be looking down at my feet so hard and really trying to sneak that I would not be looking for animals, and then like you just hear they're gone, you know. So that's something that it may seem obvious, but something I just felt like we should mention. But we get into oh, so we got a call coming in. Nevada, Clark County. Just whatever. Sorry, call guys, but what was I talking about? Okay, yeah. So we stalk into. We didn't know this at the time, but we're about 50 yards from this bull. I feel the wind hit the back of my neck, and I was like, "Oh, that's not good." But I was like, we're so close, we can't back out. Like, we just had to kind of continue.
As that's happening, I had opened Onyx, and looking at my Onyx, look up and see our landmarker stick laying there that we had determined. I'm like, oh, there it is. And literally as that thought process is going through my mind, they'll just explode out of their beds.
Yeah.
Boom.
Wind just switched it. So that was a situation where we did the stalk well and did it right. But the wind just swirled on us and they were gone.
We controlled what we could, and then the factors that you can't control had ended up getting us.
Yep. So anyway, that was a bummer. A little bit.
Yeah, but you felt way better after that stalk.
Yes,
even though it wasn't successful, it was successful in ways of, hey, I did this better. We did this right.
Yep.
You're just like, did I do good? Did I do that right? I was like, absolutely. I wouldn't have changed a thing other than maybe if we would have been 10 yards downhill, maybe that wind wouldn't have got to him. But we don't know that at the time. And also, it's hard to know exactly where that elk is bedded, even when you think you know.
Yeah. You can only get it so close in your mind. You can't. It's not. You're never going to be exact usually. But yeah, I remember saying to you, I was like, I'm more encouraged by how we executed the stalk than I am discouraged about the not shooting that elk.
Yep.
There is literally a ball of cactus on the floorboard of my truck. I'm driving barefoot. What the heck is that? Okay, sorry. There's a piece of cactus in the floorboard. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer, but we felt good about it.
Yep. So then get a hold of your cuz, and we're gonna go meet on top of like the tallest hill in the area to do some glassing for the rest of the day.
You can see everything from this hill.
Yeah. So
and Kobe dropped something after talking crap about my camera carrier.
God. The most sickening sound in the world. I dropped my camera from 5 feet directly on its lens.
Directly on a rock.
Directly on a rock. This is why you use clear UV filters. UV zero filters, clear filter. Have your lens cap on. It absolutely shattered my filter. $100 filter down the drain versus
Shoot up your lens cap too.
Yeah,
chewed up hard.
Chewed up the lens cap. Got the lens filter completely shattered, glass everywhere. But that $1,200 lens is completely fine.
It warped the O-ring too on your thing.
But
the lens is good though.
Lens is great.
That was a close one.
Use clear filters. Use your lens caps. That's what we got for you on that.
Yeah. So we get up there. Cuz is all down because he basically has to hike back.
His other sole fell off the other boot.
The other boot blew up too. So he's literally taping them back and using shoelaces to tie them together. And he's like not pouting, but he didn't want to leave. Let's put it that way. And he had to basically hike himself back to camp in the heat of the day
with half boot soles taped on.
With taped on boot soles. But there's nothing we could do. Like, we were in there, and I told him too, I gave him plenty of warning on this hunt. I was like, man, this is what you need to be prepared. If you don't have time to prepare properly, I was like, I'm giving you a heads up. I'm going to be in hunt mode. This is a big tag. Obviously, we're not going to leave you somewhere that's not safe. But I'm going to be in hunt mode. And so you can keep up, but if you need to take rests, if you need to sit down or whatever, it's fine. But if you need to stay in camp a day, that's fine too. But I need to hunt hard on this. And he knew what he got to get himself into. But he had to hike back, drive an hour and a half into town and get those $24.99 specials or something.
Eddie Bauer's.
Oh yeah, Eddie Bauer's.
No, the guy was trying to sell him the name brand of this
$24
New
boot.
Mexico sporting goods store for like $24 boots, and he thankfully he didn't trust those. He went with old Eddie Bowers, and they treated him good the rest of the trip.
Yep.
But we then glassed for a bit, and what do we end up spotting?
Okay, I'm trying to think what happened that night. Sorry, I was messing with the camera there. I don't remember. I don't remember. What did we see that night?
That is when we saw all those bulls and cows bedded on that nice flat spot that we thought would be a decent spot for a stop.
This is the night. Yeah. Okay.
So
this is the night that we blew a really good opportunity, or I did. Anyway, so yeah, we see a bunch of elk over there. We got to kind of
from camp.
Yeah, yeah.
They're pretty far.
So how far was that total from camp, you think?
Between 3 to 3. It was 3 to 3.5.
But was it was 2 drainages or 3 drainages over?
3.
It was 3 drainages over. So it doesn't seem
they
like
they were in the 3rd.
Yeah.
We had to go through the 2.
So it doesn't sound like bad mileage, and it wasn't bad mileage, but it's very rugged and it's a lot of up and down, and it's not an easy hike over there.
No,
it's not, even for Copes.
The thing is 3 to 4 miles from camp in this area that we're hunting is a lot. Like, this is the most roadless area we could find
in the whole unit,
and that's why we were so stoked to be hunting it. So it's not that far in the grand scheme of things, but for this tag in these conditions, like, it's a little bit of a trek
for sure. And it's hot. I mean, you're in the desert. It's rugged country.
Hot. And then it's cold in the mornings.
Yeah, it's cold in the mornings and in the evenings, like really cold. Like, we're getting frost and stuff. And then, like, during the day, you have to be in shade or you will just fry. But we were able to get shade and nap, and it was nice staying out there all day too if you're able to get enough shade and just bring enough water. But so that night we bomb after these elk, and
best stock yet, in my opinion.
Best stock yet. First, we spooked another satellite, didn't we?
No. I remember I caught those cows when we were coming down the ridge. I was like, hey, we got to cut it back to the right.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, but mid-stock, we did spook that satellite. You're right.
Yeah. So we're stalking in. This is a long stalk, like I think it was a third of a mile, and that we were kind of shadowing this herd.
It was 35 minutes total.
Yeah.
We're probably 2/3 of the way done with it. Well, done as in, like, to the end of the stalk when that we went to shoot that gap.
Yeah, and then
I just saw legs.
Yeah.
I saw legs, and you were pretty down when we bumped that, and I was like, hey.
Yeah, I thought the whole...
There's elk everywhere.
Yeah.
This satellite going is not going to bump all these elk out of here. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Don't even think about that happening.
Yeah, see, I was like, I heard, once again, legs running away, and I was like, dang, like, we're done. But Kobe's like, no, keep going. So we went in, and we worked on this big bull. We got definitely in muzzleloader range a couple times. We stalked really well, but he was in some thick brush, and I just didn't get the best opportunity. Didn't happen, basically, long story short. But it was a really nice bull, and we decided to actually come back and look for him again the next day. So I don't know. It was kind of disappointing, although it was a good stalk. But we were kind of down because I basically should have got this elk, but it just didn't come together. So we knew we had a really long walk back to camp that night.
But that was the biggest rut fest that we were in the middle of
yet. When it got dark, they were just going off everywhere. And so we knew that was a really good area, and we wanted to get back in there anyways. So, and we kind of wanted to find this bull again. So we start making the trek back. At this point, Cuz is not with us, is he? No, we came back alone that night.
No,
he was in camp still from getting his shoes. So we trekked back, and he's got dinner kind of waiting for us.
Bro, he got me.
Oh, yeah.
He got me Taco Bell and a Dos Equis.
Yeah, like a double.
Yeah.
Like a double beer, whatever they're called. Tall boy.
Yeah, we weren't partaking in any of that out
Kobe
there. But
was so stoked.
After a long trek that day, man, I was stoked for some Taco Bell and a brew.
We did probably like 14 miles that day.
That That was our
13?
13-mile day.
13
The
mile.
next day is our big day.
Yeah. So
which started out interesting. We thought we had a better route into there, remember?
yeah, it wasn't it better?
No, when we drove around that morning.
Oh, yeah. It is such a blur in my head, dude.
We
thought we
this
found
road
yeah,
that went a lot closer to that side of the
chunk
of forest. Is it Forest Service that we were hunting? It's green. It's green on the map.
Yes, it is. It's national forest.
Yeah.
It's national forest.
So
Dang, I gotta pee.
we took this road over there, and then realized that the fork in the road, actually, the fork that we wanted to take had a gate on it and went through private.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from the map which roads are public and which ones are private. So that's another thing. That's part of scouting too. We didn't scout this before, but we didn't know it was public. We tried to scout it, but one fork had a posted on it and one fork did. It was kind of confusing. So I asked a friend who lived out there. He confirmed it is public. So, but long story short, where we needed to go was closed and it was private. We couldn't get down there. So we went all the way back to camp and then hiked in with my cousin.
Unfortunately, the sun is up by the time we were hiking this day. It just didn't work out for us. But we got back in there and we saw some elk right away once we got into that third drainage.
Yeah.
They were by that tank that was dry. And then they just worked off and there wasn't really a move to go after them. And so we got up and glassed that ridge where we last saw the bull on.
Yep.
And
we looked for him for a while.
Yeah, found some sheds that we hung in trees because they were chalkers.
And we found
I don't think Delta let me check that 5-point.
You could, yeah. Anyway,
what were you gonna say? We found that water.
Yeah, we found the first I don't know if you would say it's natural water, but it wasn't like a plastic tank. It was it looked like a tiny pond or a giant elk wallow. It was just like some water.
Yeah, but all these tanks.
It was also the convergence, I remember, of two drainages. Yeah.
But also all these so-called tanks from
cattle ranchers.
Yeah, all of them were dry. Literally every single one of them.
This is the first big water source we found. The only water source we found.
Yeah. And so we found that and we decided to sit over top of it for the afternoon.
Yeah, we just figured we're gonna nap anyway and kind of chill. Let's sit somewhere we can kind of see this water and just chill. So that's what we did, but nothing showed up. And then it wasn't great glassing. And my cousin, to be honest, was kind of we saw some elk the next drainage, the next ridge over.
And it was towards where that road that we couldn't take in, it was
the private.
Close to that private, and man, did I want to go over there.
Yeah.
But,
I remember, dude. Okay, so it had been a long day already. My cousin was not feeling great. His knee was hurting him. He's a little older than me, and he doesn't do really any, working out or training for this kind of thing. So the fact that he was even there with us was somewhat impressive, to be honest.
He put on over 10 that day.
Yeah, he did good, and he wasn't complaining or anything like that. He just doesn't prepare. He doesn't do this kind of stuff. So, but he did great, and but he was not going to that next ridge, dude. And to be honest, I wasn't super stoked on it either because I was feeling the same way. I was feeling a little down, and I knew because they were not close and they were working away from us pretty fast, and if we had killed an elk back there, the pack out would have been very, very hard for all of us and borderline dangerous for my cousin or undoable.
Yeah.
Not, you know what I mean? Legit undoable for him. It would have been a multi-trip, and probably the second trip, me and Kobe doing it alone. It would have been hard. So I'm not saying we didn't do it because it would have been hard, but maybe I am. I don't know. It just didn't seem like the move at the time. Plus, they were kind of going away. I don't know. It didn't seem like a high percentage play. But I did have to pull your ass off those elk, though.
You did have to pull me off those.
I really did. I was like, all right, Cub, I know you love them. I know you want to go after them, but let's see if we can find some elk the other way. So
saw the first
is what it is.
Decent mule deer. The only decent mule deer we saw all trip.
Yeah.
I saw him for about 5-6 seconds as he was rebedding.
Yeah.
Nothing big, but he's the only decent one. We saw a couple of little guys, but we worked back towards camp, and really not another thing happened that day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That was, and we felt a little like, you know, I just didn't want to push my cousin too hard, and he was telling us, dude, I don't know if I can make it over there, guys. So, and I'm not blaming him either, too. I also wasn't like totally feeling it, but nothing else really happened that day. And we are going to take a short break because I'm going to pee, and then we're going to pick this back up. All right, we're back. So we're at the end of the day before it all went down. And it was a long day, mentally, physically. We did about, what, was it 14 miles that day?
It was 14 point something that day.
So me and Kobe did 14 point something that day. My cousin kind of...
Over 10.
Over 10, yeah. He did most of it. He didn't go on every little move we went on, but he was hanging in there. Wasn't really feeling it, but we went back that night. Okay, so at the end of that day, my cousin... There was this one kind of area where we got to where you could glass this first drainage from camp before going right back onto camp. So we got there a little bit before dark, and I said, hey guys, I'm gonna just sit and glass this until dark. I was like, cuz you head back to camp and I'll see you at dark. And then Kobe was like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. So me and Kobe went out there, and it could just be the elk just had moved on. It could be a little bit of that, you know, we've been in there hunting and pushing elk around a little bit, not a lot, but a little, for a couple days. And that night was just eerily quiet in our crickets in our little honey hole, that first drainage. So me and Kobe both kind of decided, hey, we got to change it up in the morning.
And pretty much came up with the same plan in our heads.
Yeah.
Like driving that one road.
Yeah, so the road that we had just recently
tried to go on.
Did we say the name of the road earlier?
No, we did not say the name of the road earlier. That's why I was like, the road.
Yeah, so the road that we weren't sure about, now we knew we could get access on it, so we're like, hey, let's go check that out, because it got us deeper into that area.
And that was the general direction where the big herd of elk were going.
Yeah.
I did not think that they were going to work all the way over to that road, but I thought they might be in a playable range potentially, and also with all those elk over there, figured there was more elk over there.
Yeah. So we did that. We went back up there, and we climbed the first decent-looking knob over what we thought might be some water, a couple miles back there, and same thing, we get up there, crickets. Well, I spotted a couple elk like 2 drainages over, or 3.
You spotted elk over where we left those elk.
Yeah. And that's something else I was saying about how, like, these dudes like Kobe who just grew up in the mountains, like, you can drive them like 40 miles away and they'll be like, oh yeah, that's the ridge where those elk were on 2 nights ago after we walked from camp and saw them. And like, you're like, what? I'm like, what are you talking about, dude?
We're looking in a completely different direction. You're just like, I don't know, up from down. And I'm like, yep, that's that ridge. You see that mountain? That's the big mountain we glassed off of. There's that tank.
Yeah.
It's just like...
So I'm learning it. I'm getting there, folks, but I'm not there yet. Kobe's a wizard. And most of these guys that grew up out here are like that. But not to discount Kobe, he's the man. But basically it was dead. And I remember Kobe was like, I was kind of trying to figure out what our next play was, and he was like, we just got to go. So I didn't really know exactly at that point, but we just started packing. It was crickets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I got a cactus in my leg.
Oh yeah.
That really,
we get to the top,
really hurt.
We get to the top of the glassing knob, and I should Kobe go, ooh! Aye! Or like something just wild. And I look down, he's got like an entire cactus just jammed in his shin.
I have like 30 marks in my shin from that
Right
thing.
in the shin, dude. The meaty part of the shin.
Oh.
Ugh. So
that
could have been contributing to why there was no elk there.
No, definitely not.
Um,
But yeah, we were up there, and it was just nothing. And you're like, what do we do? I'm like, well, it's still the good part of the day. We have to go to a different spot, whether that's further down this road or we had discussed a different plan for that evening. We had kind of a plan for that evening hunt,
Yes.
not in that area, given the fact that if we did not find elk in that area. But you're like,
It was time for a big time plan B.
you're like, what if we just go hit that right now? I'm like,
Yeah.
well, how far is it? Is it still going to be, are we going to be getting there in the middle of the, because this is a little bit of a drive.
Yeah.
What did we determine, like 40 minutes?
Yeah. 30, 40 minutes. It wasn't like crazy, but it was early enough in the morning where we could still get over there. And they had been bugling until like I think the previous day. Yeah, it was like
noon?
11:30. They were still bugling.
So
So I was like, I think we can get over there and try this thing we were going to do in the afternoon right now.
major terrain change. Go into that.
Major. Like, so at this point, we're like in the desert for days. Like, it's rough, but we're used to it. Like, that's what we've been doing. And the other part of this unit, like I said, is more alpine, more dark timber.
I wouldn't go as far as alpine, but it's timbered higher country.
Okay, it's about 2,000. Sorry, I'm not from the mountains. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's 2 miles or 2,000 feet higher, and it's not desert. Explain.
It's Pondo Forest. It's I don't know if I'm not the best at trees, but maybe some lodgepole. It's timbered, thick forest. It's like forest you would truly hunt in Montana, Idaho, in like Wyoming, I guess, out in Colorado type of stuff. It is a timbered forest.
Yeah.
That same type of ground vegetation, deadfall, very elky. It's what I know elk hunting in very well. It felt like home, and it was weird to be in New Mexico in that to me. But yeah, no, it is. It's not the alpine though. In my mind, I think of the alpine as like high country, jagged peaks, just like that type of stuff. But it's higher country.
Yeah.
It is the high country.
That's what I meant. I just meant it's like conifer forest and green and like aspens and 2,000 feet higher. But anyway, I got to go back a little bit. I got to get a little mushy here because I think this is for somebody. But at the end of that long day, you know, I'd missed a couple really good opportunities. Like, or at least I felt that I had missed some really good opportunities to fill my tag. And a couple long days, and I don't know, like sometimes I just have too much pressure on myself. Also, this is a weird hunt because even though it's the whole thing's a weird dynamic because it's my first specific elk hunt. And it's in this amazing tag. And it's an amazing place. Tons of elk. So, really unique situation and great place to learn. But anyway, I was just feeling a lot of pressure to get my first elk on this hunt because it's a really good chance to do it. There's a lot of elk. They're vocal. It's a cool hunt. So, all this stuff is coming together, and I'm hitting that. I don't know if you guys have ever done hunts, and this is not just this week. I'm also, like I said, I'm headed to Montana right now, so I'm going to be away from the family for over 2 weeks. So when you're in that situation too, and you got young kids at home, I have an infant and 2 other kids, you know, those ideas start to come in your head, start to eat at you a little bit, like, what are you doing out here? Like, you should be home with your kids, just like all the stuff that we all know, that dark spot you can get to sometimes on a hunt. That's where I was. And so I woke up like an hour before my alarm clock went off, and all these thoughts are just racing. I'm just kind of down and stressed about like filling this tag. And I reached out to my wife, sent her text. She sent me some encouraging words that helped out a lot. She always helps me out of those times. So thanks, dear. And anyway, then I got up. What's up?
Did you hit record?
No, I didn't. That's
I
okay.
didn't either.
No, I did. Mine's recording.
Mine wasn't.
Okay,
Sorry.
well, I got the camera file.
Yeah. And
sorry, technical folks,
yeah,
guys.
my bad. You got
So
up.
I got up an hour early, not because I wanted to, just because I couldn't sleep, because I was like, my mind was racing. And I made some coffee. I sat in my sleeping bag outside on the cooler. I don't know if you saw that, but I took my sleeping bag outside, sat in that thing on the cooler outside. I drank my coffee, and I read the Bible, and I prayed. As Psalm 37 and Psalm 38, they're like my go-to, at least Psalm 37, is like my go-to for like when I feel down and out on a hunt. Like, it always just makes me feel better. and says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So a lot of the times on these hunts, I feel like I'm stressing out so much to try to fill this tag that I forget to delight myself in the Lord, which to me means enjoy creation, enjoy the experience, enjoy the people I'm with, enjoy the hunt, and not get so wrapped up in filling the tag. And at that point, I felt, and my cousin gave me a big hug after he woke up, and we said a prayer together, and it was like a reset button. It was wild. I just felt good again. Even though we went to that first spot and there's nothing there, but jumping ahead a little bit, when I got to this more green, mountainy, whatever you're saying, ponderosa forest kind of deal.
The high country.
The high country, yeah. And it's a little cooler, and we're walking on this trail, and it's beautiful. We're walking past some
fall colors.
Yeah, there was like some yellow golden aspens, big trees, super green. We saw this like pack of wild horses, which looking back was pretty sick.
You were stoked on them. I was like, eh.
Yeah, it looked cool, guys. Anyway, so I just felt at peace. Like I think I even said it to you, Kobe. It's like, I just feel at peace in here.
Yeah.
And I just did. So that time of prayer and reading the Bible really helped me out. And I wasn't so much stressed anymore about like killing an elk. I was just like in the moment. I was enjoying myself. I was enjoying the surroundings. So it just felt good. And that's usually to me when things happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a particularly religious or spiritual person, but mindset in a hunt is the biggest contributing factor. Like, if your mind is not right and you are not in the right headspace, you will look as everything going wrong rather than looking at things as they come, rolling with the punches, getting through it and learning from it. So headspace is seriously one of the biggest contributing factors to a successful hunt. And whether you look at that successful hunt as the time out there and the learning, or the actual success of harvesting something. So being able to get that mindset flip after a couple hard, frustrating days was a big thing for you. So
very well said. Very well said, Cobes.
So we walked those bottoms in, and then what happened?
So we're walking in there. I'm feeling great. I actually did, like, at this point, I'm just having fun. I got one of those Phelps Easy Buglers. Nothing crazy, but I, watched the YouTube video, figured out how to blow it, and I was like, I gotta at least blow this thing one time while I'm in New Mexico, dude.
because I probably portrayed a little bit of a factor into you not using it before.
True.
That, because it is not my style. I'm not a caller in elk hunting. I personally don't know how to bugle. I might cow call a little bit. So I definitely rubbed off on you a little bit of like, hey, don't give up your location, spot and stalk this.
Yes, and I like that because we didn't need to call.
No.
Like, it was never, but I felt like...
But at this time, just like, I gotta rip this thing.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't need to call, and also, Kobe's more of a spot and stalk hunter and stuff, so, but yeah, we were in this area. I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna freaking rip this thing, Kobe, and he's like, go for it, dude. I ripped it, nothing. He went to the bathroom, I ripped it again before he came back, so he couldn't tell me not to, and then, but nothing happened. But anyway, I ripped it. And then we started going down, and Kobe's like, dude, we should get off trail and hit the top of this ridge, because that's where they're going to be bedded. And
they've already fed out of the bottoms. There's these nice green pasture-looking bottoms, great feed, good amount of fresh sign.
Yeah, deer sign. We saw turkeys, everything.
If we had been there as dawn is happening, you want to walk that timber edge into there. Stay
good
concealed.
Point. So that would have been productive if we'd hit there like right at like first light.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But
so I was kind of sneaking through the middle there, but not sneaking. I was walking through I might have been a little bit too much at peace because I was just like on a nature walk. Yeah, I was on a nature walk, dude. I was scanning, but I wanted to get. Plus, there was a tank.
We were moving into it.
Yeah, there was a tank that I wanted to check.
But
anyway.
essentially, I told you, if we continue to do it like this, we will find nothing.
Right. But you
let's
would
go-
have. But
let's-
if it was like dawn, you would have.
Yes, I
moved
would have
through
walked
there?
the edges. I
Okay.
would have walked the edges.
Like snuck the edges.
Yep. Because
Okay.
you want that cover. You want to stay
Yep.
concealed.
That's good.
But
That's a good note.
they will be down in those bottoms feeding. That's why there's the fresh poop down in the bottoms
course,
that we
yep,
saw.
yep.
But knowing what I know, I knew that they were going to be up these finger ridges, bedded down off the top of the main ridge. They like to bed up on benches just off of the main ridge, up higher.
And we
they
found
like to
that out.
gain that elevation to their bedding area. And
Yep.
so we're 5 minutes into our walk up this hill, and we just randomly stopped at that spot.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And
well, what happened was we're going up.
oh yeah, you got to tell them about the
What?
finding the.
The balloon. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So, the couple nights before, Kobe found a popped Mylar balloon and picked it up, and he's like, "Balloons are good luck, bro."
Balloons are good luck in the Elkwoods.
I was like, "All right, yeah," that's what he said. So we're going up there, about halfway up this hill. I find one, I pick it up, and I said, "Apparently these things are good luck," says somebody I know. So put it in my pocket, and we get to the top of the ridge, and I started seeing a little bit of sign. I started seeing some droppings up there, and I'm like, mentally, I didn't say this, but I'm saying mentally, all right, let's just slow it down a little bit. And I started sneaking through there, and then I remember I checked my wind, it was good, and then I kind of like looked up and I see a cow and calf kind of trot in front of us down into the bottom, or down lower.
Yeah,
And so I don't think Kobe, you didn't see them, did you?
I saw a different cow.
Okay. But anyway, at that point I'm like, okay, we're in some elk. But it was literally, we didn't even have time to make a next decision before we heard a bugle rip off to our right.
Like under 200 yards, like
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. Dude, we were like in there, dude.
Yeah.
So that game's on at that point. I wonder, do you think that was the elk I shot?
No,
No?
I think that was the further one down the ridge.
Okay. Okay, why don't you pick it up from here, Cobe? I want to hear how you tell it.
All right. So,
I might jump in though.
yes, absolutely, as you should. We come up with a game plan. This ridge, to kind of paint a picture for you, if there's a main ridge that we are working up a finger ridge, there are 3 to 4 more finger ridges coming off this main ridge towards where the elk are moving. And that elk, like, gets out of there 200-300 yards immediately, like, they're just moving. So he created some distance. So I'm like, all right, we got to move country and just shadow this herd, check our wind as we go. So we're moved through the first finger ridge, moved through the second one. We're just staying to
Keeping our elevation.
keep our elevation. Keep your elevation. Don't lose your elevation.
Because I think at one point I was like, should we kind of go down like straight after him? But you were, no, let's circle around.
No,
like,
that
and
was
keep
that
it.
was me. I was like, hey, we can make this aggressive play and get down to this bottom, and you might have a shot up there, or we circle around and keep doing what we're doing. I was like, what do you want to do? And you took off and kept circling, which I thought was a good call.
Cool.
But I gave you the option for the more aggressive play, which I thought could potentially work. We'd been, at that point, 20 plus minutes shadowing this herd.
Yeah.
And
I just felt like, I guess, analyzing it, from what I learned to this point, I felt like going down means there's a good chance you're going to be hunting up at the elk,
Yes.
and that's a disadvantage.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
And not to mention, you're going to have to come back up again. So even if you get in the elk, you're going to be a little bit more tired, more winded, maybe not make as good of a shot. So like, I'm just saying, let's keep going around on elevation. Plus, he might have been kind of working that way anyway,
Yep.
potentially. So
So we
better to cut off than chase.
Yes. We're trying to, essentially, as we're shadowing the herd, we're trying to stay with them, but also get to a position where we can advance and cut them off to where they want to go. Like, that's like really
The goal.
the end goal of what we're trying to do is cut these elk off to where they're moving to. And as they crest a finger ridge and sound like they're a little bit further away, that's your time to move quickly and make that advance, right? So we got around that spot, and you saw that cow.
Yeah, so we worked, I think, to the edge of that, I don't know, I guess the edge of that bowl, I guess you'd call it. And
little drainage coming up.
Yeah, we're about to like get on the other side, the opposite ridge.
And there's a big flat bench on top.
Yeah, and then we heard another bugle rip pretty close. And then that's when I stopped. I'm pretty sure I'm telling this right. And I looked up, that's when I saw like 4 cows, maybe 3 cows and a calf or something. Same deal, trotting, broadside from me, not super freaked out or looking at me, just kind of moving.
We couldn't tell if they were just moving or kind of spooked by us or what the deal was, but you go another 20, 30 yards, and we hear another bugle rip off, another bugle rip off, another bugle rip off, and you just look at me. You just
they're
look
going
at me.
all around us.
You look at me, and you just go, I need your help. What do I do?
Okay, so the reason I said that is because we're kind of going after this elk, which I'm, in my mind at this time, thinking he's 300, 350-ish yards away. And then I hear this other one rip off to my left. It sounds like it's about 150 yards away. And so I'm like, this is in my mind. I don't know if this is correct. This is just what I'm thinking. This one seems closer to my left. But we've been kind of following this one that's in front of me. So that's why I was like, what do we do? Because there was just so much going on. And
There's 4 different bulls.
Yeah, walk me through why you said what you said.
Because that bull, the new bull that piped off to your left, was actually further than the bull in front of you.
Okay. I don't know why I thought that.
Our wind wasn't bad for the bull in front of us, but it was less favorable. And I thought, let's make a play on this one that's right in front of us. If we screw it up, we turn around and immediately have a play behind us.
Yeah.
If we screw that one up, we have another one down further. Like, there were 4 different bulls bugling in this little area. And so it was take the cards right in front of you.
Yep.
So yeah, my what I said to him is, go try and kill that bull, and
like,
point
what do we
directly
do?
in front of him.
Yeah. So he's like, go try to kill that bull. So I do it. We're stalking, and I'm stalking. Kobe's back there. He's helped me along the way, but I'd say you probably helped me the least on this stalk, right?
Yeah.
There were times when I even told him before this, I was like, Kobe, on the next one, appreciate your help, but let me have to kind of figure it out a little bit unless I really ask you for help or whatever.
Or I'm really gonna screw this up.
If I'm really gonna screw something up, stop me.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay. And so so that's how it pretty much went down on this one. Definitely he helped me out a couple times.
Definitely in control. Not that there's a stalk or two where I was earlier in the hunt where I was like, do this because of the closeness of a situation. Just I go into elk mode. I just go straight into elk mode,
which I was appreciative of, honestly.
Yeah, but on this one you definitely handled it very well, obviously because of the ending that we're about to get to here. But we're
good
50 to 70 yards after I said go try and kill that elk.
Yeah, it was right there.
I see a butt.
Yeah. and to be honest, that's another example where, being completely honest here, I knew we were very close. I did not want to bust the thing. And this is where I'm still learning as an elk hunter, the balance between how much noise you can get away with. I'm almost stalking this thing like it's a bedded mule deer. And maybe I should have put a little bit more mental energy on looking in front of me and a little less mental energy on looking at my feet. That's something I'm learning that balance of. Yeah. Anyway, Kobe saw the butt first, and we dropped down. I see it, and then I see him staring right at me. And there was a downed log about 1.5 yards in front of me, but it was low. It was
awkwardly low.
It was geez, what? 18 inches off the ground or less.
Yeah.
It was low. Anyway, it was right in between, not high enough for a knee shot and not low enough for prone. I almost thought I could lay prone and use it as a rest, but it was too high to be prone. It was this weird, awkward in between. Anyway, I figured at this range, any kind of rest, I could probably pull off the shot. And I didn't want to risk moving anymore because he was staring right at us. 80-ish yards. And I knew that there was one opening in front of him, the direction he was
pointed.
It's thick.
It's
up on
very
here.
thick.
Very thick.
Very thick. All I can see is his face, basically a dark patch where his face is, and like a little bit of his butt.
Yep.
And there's an opening in front of him. I know if he takes like 1 or 2 steps, he's dead. But he's staring at me. So I get my rifle on the log and I like slowly remove my pack, which from Kobe's perspective is probably a questionable call, but
No, I don't think it was a questionable. You slowly removed it and like threw it to the ground. Not purposely.
Yeah.
Not purposely, but it just like it was a big movement.
It was heavy.
Yeah, it was heavier than it should have been. It was a big movement, and sometimes that's what sends them over the edge.
Yeah.
But no, when you can't get your head back because you're packed.
Right. As I explained,
it's a good move. I did not think it was a bad move.
I explained to Kobe in that awkward shooting position, I could not get that way with my pack because the frame's kind of high on that pack, and so I had to slide it off. I did make more noise than I would have liked to, but I was just following my gut that I felt like if I did it slowly and carefully, we were far enough away and it was thick enough, we would get away with it. Because I'm kind of getting cover from that log too.
Yep.
And so I slip it off. I got my rifle ready. We sat there, I don't know, for a while.
4 or 5 minutes.
4 or 5 minutes. And what are you thinking?
I'm thinking I'm about out of media here.
Oh, jeez. This is the second time this has happened to me this year, dude.
Because I'm 30 straight minutes into recording,
Yeah.
so I had enough when we started this stock. But I'm like under 5. I'm like probably like 3 minutes left of recording.
Jeez.
And I'm just like, I don't like this. And so he's standing there still, so I'm like...
I cannot believe you changed SD cards right then, dude. That is
Ballsy.
so ballsy. Oh my gosh.
But he was staring at us. I got him changed. Didn't have time to format him. Knew I had enough
What'd you do?
record
Just
time.
go back behind the tree where you couldn't see you at all and just change him real quick?
No, my camera was sitting on my backpack. I had my chest rig open. I got the SD cards out and ready. Stopped recording, shut the camera off, threw the SD cards out, literally just threw them in the chest pack, shoved the other 2 in. As I'm closing the door on that, he takes a step forward.
Oh my gosh, dude.
And
that is wild. So I'm taking my
he
pack
doesn't
off.
just take a step out, he literally takes like 2 steps towards us.
Yep. He stepped. So all this is going down. Kobe's changing SD cards. I'm grabbing my pack. I'm getting ready. I'm lining them up in my sights. And he steps out like 2 steps, but also slightly to the right as well, where I had a clear frontal shot. And I don't know if you listen to the podcast a lot, you'll probably know, like I've talked about before, a lot of my memorable kills or like first species kills or whatever, like for some reason it's always a frontal shot. I don't know, but I've had a lot of frontal shots. My biggest whitetail ever, caribou from this year, my biggest mule deer ever, now this guy, all frontal shots, and it's really deadly. If you're in range and you have a good bullet, I shoot Barnes solid copper. These were the Vortex muzzleloader bullets, 250 grain. I usually shoot the Vortex 300 Win Mag. I may have misquoted the bullet. It's anyway, it doesn't matter. Barnes. I can't remember what is it? Magnum MZ. No, I'm shooting the copper TEZ. Sorry. Shooting the Barnes copper TEZ muzzleloader bullets. I usually shoot the Barnes Vortex out of my 300 Win Mag. So, sorry, I just want to give a shout out to them because they're one of my best partners. Anyway, he's looking at me frontal, and I'm like, I'm going to take this, dude, because in my mind, any second, if he doesn't take 2 steps, he's out of, like, there's no shooting lane. I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm not waiting any longer than I have to. And I looked back, I was like, you on him, dude?
You didn't look back. You're just like, you on him? I'm like, yep.
I didn't look back? I thought I did.
Nope.
Okay, I thought I remember looking back.
Well, if you look back, I didn't see you look back because I was focused on the elk.
Yeah, it's probably a halfway, just like turn the head. Are you on him? And then I heard you make some kind of noise, and then I squeezed it, and I saw the elk. He completely raised up on his back legs. I saw a puff of steam come out of his chest, and then he went completely just fell on his back. And so I knew that was good, but a great elk hunter once told me, you don't stop shooting until the elk's on the ground dead.
Don't stop shooting until they stop moving. That is 101 elk hunting right
and
there.
Kobe told me that earlier in the week, so.
The scramble of reloading a muzzleloader starts.
Yeah. So I have on my CVA, I got one of those little CVA speed loaders. It's not any faster to load the gun, even though it's called a speed loader. It just ensures that you always have 2 loads with you at all times with the gun. It goes on the stock of your gun, and it's got 2. You can take your pre-measured load, pour it in there, a bullet and a primer. And so I whip that thing out, reload, and I start kind of slowly walking towards him because I knew he wasn't dead. And he gets up and starts running. And I'm freaking out. I probably didn't have the best shot, to be honest. He was almost completely running away. But he was still like inside 100, I think, or maybe at 100. So I took a shot. I don't think that second shot hit him. I don't think it did. Do you? We can't tell because he went down.
He went down, but when we processed it, we did the gutless method, so we never got a good chance to identify like if there was another wound in there. But we're not really sure that first shot was really hurt him. So
we think that first shot was definitely lethal. He could have run for another, who knows, I don't know.
You just never know with elk. They are so tough, and their will to live is incredible.
Yeah. But it hit him square in the chest and exited the back of his abdomen.
Yeah, in front of the hind quarter.
And when we did quarter him up, there was no bullet or bullet damage in any of the quarters, so it went straight through his cavity.
Yeah.
I mean,
you pulled that one bullet.
That was the kill, the final shot, though.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I think. Pretty sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway,
you shoot. He goes down again.
But he's just stumbling, and he's like almost about to get back up again. But he did fall. Finally.
And then he just lays there calm.
Yeah, he lays there calm. And then, dude, Kobe got the best video of this. We've been watching it like over and over and like texting it out to people. I don't know. I might make a reel of it or something. 'Cause it's pretty Western.
Yeah.
Tell him from your perspective. Well, I don't know. Okay, so he's still alive.
You're like, I see him breathing.
He's still alive. I don't want to see the thing suffer. So, again, I reload as fast as I can.
You circle to the right to get a good angle.
I circled the right to get a good angle because I knew there's a good chance he would get up. Also, before this, I realized when I had run up to him the first time, I had dropped one of my muzzleloader loads, and I had 2 extra loads in my pack, which thank God I packed those.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I didn't want to take my eyes off the elk, and so like, dude, I dropped and so Kobe went back and grabbed my pack, brought it back to me. I loaded another one, and then that's when gun shouldered and ready, walking carefully towards him. I circled to the right because I knew if he got up, he was gonna go to the right. So I circled that way, and I step on a twig, and
like 15, 20 yards from him.
Yeah.
I saw him working up to him. I mean, I was right behind him, obviously, but I was just like, man, I think he's gonna get up here. I'm gonna just stay back and
oh, sorry, call. Just ignore it.
Yeah, I just had a feeling that he was gonna get up and try and make a run for it again, and I'm like, I'm just gonna stay back here because I'll get better footage with just staying back.
Yeah. So, real quick, guys, I gotta change batteries on my camera. Be right back. Everything good? Everything rolling? Are we back?
We're back.
We're back, Kobe? Okay. So, I'm sneaking up on this thing. I'm loaded, locked and loaded, ready to go. And I step on a twig, and this thing gets up like he's gonna sprint full speed. And this is a split-second reaction. I grew up shooting skeet and shooting ducks and dove and geese, so like instinctual shooting is actually like I'm good at it. Like I can just pull it. So he gets up, and I just basically went into, just blacked out basically, pulled the gun up and bam, and just shot. and he piled up and just face
He did
planted.
the scorpion. He face planted. It was wild.
Yeah, and this is what, 10 yards from him?
Yeah, the 15 probably. Yeah, not that. I mean, I don't actually know. It was
close.
easily inside 20 yards. Put it
And
that
just
way.
seeing that giant animal like wriggle itself up, like with a pretty much fatal wound that would have like crushed a deer to death, like instantly. Get up and like get his giant body up, and put another one in him, and he dropped. And but still, those things are so tough, man. Like he was sitting there, you know, he didn't get up anymore, but he was breathing.
It took a minute for him to expire still, and that's, as a hunter, that's one of the hardest things to endure and watch happen. But we knew he was minutes and seconds away from passing, and he passed. And
so
what an incredible stalk, though. Like that whole half hour of it going down, and then to
it was the
and
wildest.
how it did.
Yeah, it was the wildest emotion ever, because it was like this mix of I was super excited. I was scared, you know, that like the thing was gonna get away because we had to shoot at it so many times. And you know, I hate, the worst thing in the world ever is wounding an animal and like not recovering an animal. It's something that we've all probably dealt with at some point in our lives hunting, but it's literally the worst feeling ever. You know, I'd much rather miss an animal than wound one. So the thought of that thing, you know, getting away somehow, I was just like, and then finally when he was down, it hit me like, we did it, you know? And I look at Kobe and we're just like, woo, we did it. I don't even remember, but it was great.
We did a little fist bump.
Yeah, we did. So I was just in shock and stoked, and
It took a while for the true emotions to like come through because of the struggle of the hunt up to that point. Like it wasn't just instantaneous that the thankfulness and the reward and what was in front of you hit. It took a 5-10 minutes to truly set in.
Yeah, that we did it.
Yeah.
Because we've been hunting hard. I mean, we've been hunting hard, and to go also from a really promising spot and hunting it for a few days and missing some opportunities that a couple of them I definitely should have capitalized on.
And just being covered in elk.
And then to get to the point where like your spot kind of dries up and you got to really play, do a plan B.
Take a shot in the dark.
I mean, completely different terrain, different everything. And it coming together, and just the whole thing I was talking about earlier with just letting go and being at peace and enjoying the hunt and the process, and I wasn't stressing like, I got to kill this elk. It was more just like, literally, I was telling this to the guys earlier, the whole time I'm in the stalk, it's really kind of a stressful feeling because your adrenaline's going nuts, but you have to control it and move with purpose and methodically and be very alert. And in other situations when I was stalking elk, most of the time I was like, just like, I want this to work out. Like, let this work out. Please let me get this elk. This time I was literally like, just kind of praying, just talking as I was going, talking to God, like, thank you for this. This is amazing. Like, I have faith in you. This is freaking awesome. Thank you. So I was just, I don't know. It was a really interesting experience the way it all went down. It just reminded me again that, and like Kobe said, for him, he, says it's headspace or, how you approach it mentally or where you're at mentally. That's so important because it seems like when you just let go of the stress and kind of live in the moment and enjoy it, things just like happen better for you.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
when you fully, truly immerse yourself in that moment in what is in front of you and you don't have that outside energy and stress, it generally will work out for you.
Yep, and it did. And I feel like God blessed us big time.
And then we one trip wondered that, baby.
Yeah, so the spot we were at, it was kind of a walkthrough hunt. Like, the idea was to have my cousin drop us at one end of this trail and then in this area, and then drive around to the other end and pick us up there. Obviously, we had to change plans since we shot this bull. But at this point, we had dropped him a pin, and he had come back to the original drop-off spot and hiked into us. And dude, he's a cool bull. He's not like a giant. He's definitely not the biggest bull we saw, but it was a good opportunity right in front of me on the 4th day of the hunt. I'm not passing it up. And he's a really cool, mature 5-point with like great mass.
Really good mass, just absolutely chocolate horn.
Yeah.
Big thirds, like super. One brow tine is super fat and weird. Like great mass. It's probably I'd say 7.5 inches of mass on the bases there. 7 inches, somewhere in there. He's a very good representation of the species, and an elk that's seen some stuff over the last couple of years, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what my goal was coming in. I know a lot of people that draw this tag really approach it as their opportunity to get a really big bull, and I totally get that, and that's awesome. Like, I have some other friends that hunted the same unit actually, and that's what they wanted. They wanted like a 350 or better. My hunt was just different. Like, this was my first elk hunt, potentially my first elk, and I wasn't looking for to pass on mature bulls for a dinosaur. I wanted a nice mature animal, and that's what I got, and I'm super stoked with him. He's got great, like we said, great mass and just a cool bull. So I was happy. I'm still super stoked with him.
Yeah, as you should be.
Yeah, man. And so again, Kobe's the man. Thank you, dude. You helped me out so much, and you captured it awesomely. So thank you, brother.
It was a great way to cap off my freelance career.
Yeah.
So
this hunt had it all. It had tons of elk, tons of bugles, like
highs and lows,
super highs, super lows. Some funny stuff happened. Boots blew up. Cameras got semi-broken. It had the whole gamut. And like, those are the hunts that sometimes in the moment when you're in the. I remember saying to you guys a couple times, like, we're just in the low point. We're in the crap of this hunt. Like, we gotta just bust through this part, and what's gonna get better on the end,
Yeah. My knife is out there somewhere.
Oh, yeah, you lost your knife.
Oh.
So anyway, it was really cool the way it all went down in the end, except for losing the knife.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, so my cousin makes it up there. Of course, he doesn't bring trekking poles, doesn't bring anything to snack on.
brings like half a water.
Half a bottle of water. Like, so it was just funny. But, and I called him when he's on the way up. I'm like, where are you at, cuz? He's like, I'm climbing up this mountain.
We're like, what mountain?
We're like, what mountain? But anyway.
Maybe it was the adrenaline of stalking the elk. Maybe it was like we moved a lot of country, but we just didn't think it was that big of a hill.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that big, but it was going down it. It was a little bigger than what we had gone up.
Plus, we were at 8,800 feet, and me and my cousin live at sea level. So I mean, he's 40 years old, never trains, never done an elk hunt. He comes from sea level, so I'm not ragging on him too hard. Yes, he could have prepared better, which is just a lesson to you guys if you're listening. If you're going to elk hunt, I mean, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't go out there with the right gear. Like, don't travel across the country on a killer elk hunt, or even just any elk hunt, with gear that's going to make you lose days of hunting or like just hate your life. And that comes with physical preparation too.
Absolutely.
You got to be prepared physically for this stuff, or you're not going to have the same level of experience. So anyway, side note, but he did make it there. We got the thing all cut up. Pretty clean job of it, I'd say.
Yeah.
And we got out of there, and we got the whole elk out in one trip. I took one hind, extras, in the head.
You had hind, back straps, tenderloins, head. I went 2 fronts and neck meat, and your cuz had
one hind.
Yeah.
And
I had,
and he carried my rifle for me out.
Yeah.
But I will say, and let me just peek at the directions real quick. Are we still good? Straight for a while?
Yeah, 77 miles.
Okay. So, we estimate my pack was around 150 pounds.
Yeah.
Because I went in heavier than I should have for this style of hunt. I was kind of like not really thinking, and I like, for example, I took my spotter and a tripod,
into
which were
thick of the
absolutely
woods.
useless. Yeah. In this scenario. So that's just something to make note of.
We were scrambling when we got to that spot.
We were scrambling.
And so it's just like,
it was like jump out of the truck and go.
We didn't go through the packs like should have.
It was pretty much a jump out and let's go. Try to get while it's still morning, and it worked out. But anyway, I was about 150. Kobe was probably at least 130, right?
Yeah, I'd say it'd be pushing that.
And then my cousin had about 90. We packed it out. Had some dinner that night, and that's pretty much how it went down.
Yeah, that we got a nice cheeseburger. We got a cheeseburger. It's always what I look forward to when I'm getting out of the woods.
Yep, that meal.
Just a good cheeseburger.
And then this morning we had a really good breakfast at the Mayhill Cafe. If you're in the area, stop by.
That was really good.
Real good breakfast. Then broke down camp, and now we took the meat to the processor, and I'm headed to drop Kobe off at the airport for a sheep hunt, and I am going straight to Montana. But I don't know, man. What are some of your closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if you are looking into getting into this Western hunting, you've done a trip or two already, but if you're really looking to get into it, some key points are, I know we've already covered them, but boots, they truly do matter. Some suggestions is Crispy has just great options out there. I personally run the Nevadas. I
was wearing Crispy Altitude GTX, their new boot. I like them a lot. I wore them in Alaska and this hunt. Two completely different terrain and environments, and they worked well in both.
Yeah, another thing is a good pack. This will also make or break your hunt. How your back feels. It needs to have a load shelf to be able to pack meat out with.
Yes.
And then,
I had to give no reason why he would have one, but I brought a loaner pack for my cousin so he could pack meat. That's a big point.
Yep.
Packs.
So pack, boots, optics. Optics are your biggest asset besides your feet in moving country.
Yeah.
You don't have to have the highest quality optics. You just need to have optics that make sense for the area you're hunting and what you're hunting. So, like in this situation, you did not need a big spotter to get super zoomed in and identify if a mule deer is like a 150 versus a 180 class deer.
I was with my small spotter the whole time.
You had the small spotter. I had
That's a good point.
optic stabilized binos, 16 powers. I
had Loophole. I run 12s. The Loophole 12s on a tripod. That's kind of my favorite go-to.
You can more methodically glass a hillside with a tripod.
I hate glassing with one eye for extended periods.
Yep,
it makes my eye tired.
I'm not a big spotter person. I've actually never owned a spotter. I just ran binos my whole life. But yeah, in an elk hunt, if you're truly are trophy hunting and going after that 350 or better bull or something like that, then maybe that's the time where you bring a bigger spotter to break it down. But if you're just trying to identify if this thing's legal, you're probably going to be fine with binos and maybe a smaller spotter. But like I said, I've elk hunted my whole life and I've never used a spotter. So
I actually have
optics that make sense for your hunt.
I'll just mention too, the smaller spotter I have is the Loophole. It's actually a Loophole Tactical 12 by 40. So it's actually not even super marketed to the hunting crowd, but it's a good small size, kind of more backpacking size spotter. And then I had the big Loophole too, but that didn't call for it.
Yeah.
Hey, what was the rest of your list?
Is
it optics, pack,
hydration.
And boots?
Hydration is key.
I didn't bring enough water. It's a couple days.
Packing enough water in. Personally, I'm a bladder person, but I don't like bladder bags. I run a hard side hydration system is actually the name of the company. We'll plug for them, but it's a Nalgene bottle with a straw and a hose coming out of it. I need a hose to constantly be drinking, whereas you just run a bottle on your side. But bringing hydration, and then
I didn't bring enough a couple days.
The other thing on the hydration is supplemental hydration, the hydration sticks. Getting your salt and your electrolytes in is huge when you're putting on a bunch of miles.
Yeah, Mountain Ops has a new hydration product actually I've been trying out. That's pretty good. Kobe had a couple of them.
Yeah, it was tasty. What was it, mango?
I think, they have a lemonade and a peach mango. I had the peach mango one. It's pretty good. But
mix that up with some Ignite for an afternoon pick-me-up.
Superman.
Pretty solid. So... those are just kind of some of the key things. And if you are going to this desert country, man, bring a lightweight long sleeve. Keep that sun off of you. That
yes,
is
with a
huge.
hood. With a hood. Yeah, bring a synthetic or merino. I actually was wearing merino this trip, which I usually am a synthetic guy, but I kind of wanted to try out merino again.
I'm a synthetic guy, but I wore merino one day.
I wore the Born Primitive merino and the Mountain Ops Battleground merino the whole time. This is not, I promise you guys, a commercial. The Mountain Ops Battleground merinos are my favorite merinos I've tried from any company. I'm not just saying that because I'm a partner with them. They really are. They're just like soft. They have the features. Anyway, whatever. I wear merino, but yeah, definitely bring something long sleeve and hood. And I always do. Yeah, I always bring a puffy.
That was going to be my next thing.
Because you're going to get hot and sweaty on the walk up. It's still going to be cold. You're going to want to throw a puffy on at that first glassing knob. And you don't want to carry around anything heavy. That was another item I gave to my cousin. It was a puffy. And at first he was like, he didn't get it, you know?
Until he got it.
Until he got it. It's like, oh, okay, this weighs nothing and it's super warm. Okay. He was like, you think it's going to be cold? It's going to be cold enough for this thing, cuz? And I was like, just trust me, bring it.
Yeah.
So I always have those, but.
Yeah. And then adequate snacks. You gotta bring enough snacks.
Always.
So, yeah.
If you're not out in the sun a lot, maybe even a little sunscreen. I put some on one day. But you can pretty much stay in the shade during the really hot part. But yeah, I mean, man, closing thoughts for me. I mean, there's just so much. Just learning how to stalk and hunt a completely new and different animal. It's more than I was expecting. Like, it's more different than the deer hunt than I was expecting. I'm so glad that I did have Kobe with me. Like, I'm not saying you got to get a guide or pay a guide, but if you can even go with someone who's got a little bit more, on a new species, like even just hunted a couple times, like a buddy or something, or if you have a cousin or whatever, like, they can help you out a little bit. Now, I intentionally invited my cousin because I wanted to have fun and I wanted to I wanted to kind of try to figure it out ourselves a little bit. Now, Kobe actually helped us out more than I was kind of expecting, to be honest. But my intention was to kind of really do this DIY, and I think we still did. Kobe helped us out a lot, though. I'm not downplaying that either.
No, how I'd break that down a little bit is, you wanted to, not hit up all your local buddies, be like, hey, where do I hunt? How do I do this?
Yeah.
And still, immerse yourself in it. But to make that learning curve less steep is essentially what I did. I was able to provide a lot of information. There was also definitely a number of times where I didn't say anything, and I could have. There's definitely a number of stuff that I saw that is things that I was like, I'm just not gonna. You have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't. But like you said, those mistakes that you would have made that have been like screw up the whole situation that was to come. It's like, I can't not speak up.
How did I do from the beginning to the end progressing?
Night and day different. Like, seriously, your stalking posture changed, and your concentration on what needed to be concentrated on. On that last stalk, it felt like you were just more in tune. It truly did.
Yeah.
You were more in tune, and because that first stalk, you were just kind of like moving too quick. The first 3 stalks, just way too quick. When you finally got it was that one where we got winded.
Yeah.
To me, being diligent with where you put your feet, because you don't want to make noise. You want to make as little noise as you can, but some noise isn't bad at times. But they were bedded that time. Didn't want to make noise, so you did good. But definitely improved vastly over the course of the hunt.
Sweet. Well, it was really good sharing the hunt with you, man. I'm super glad we got to work together before you get off the market and go full-time with it, Weatherby. And I appreciate you honoring our agreement to do this hunt that we made months ago. So, and like I said, I think I said it to you before, but I knew Kobe before. I knew I liked him, but now I just respect the crap out of him. He's the man, killer hunter, hard worker, and just fun as crap to be with. I had a ton of fun hunting with you, dude.
Dude, it was a blast. It's going to be lifelong memories for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you always had like a joke or like we're cracking up about something, like, so it was really fun hanging out with you, dude.
You gotta keep it light out there. Too many people get in their own head. You gotta keep the vibes up. And
You did a really good job of keeping me from getting like down to a dark hole too. Like you were always positive, you know. I appreciate you, man, on that.
Yeah, you can't be the anchor in my position. You can't be the anchor that holds the hunt back, right? You have to be an asset, and that's why I feel like I've become successful at this, is being an asset, not just as my skills as a cameraman. So.
And you absolutely were an asset. That's something that Dan Staten said to me. That's the same thing he said to me on my first like big film hunt, which actually was out here in New Mexico. I was filming for him for Elk Shape, and he was like, just be an asset. And that's what I tried to do, and he was happy with my performance, and that's what you did. You were an asset. I mean, I was saying even down to helping me unload the meat and clean up the camp and stuff. So just being willing to help on the little things and hustling out there. So appreciate you, dog.
Right on. It was a good one.
Thumbs up, fist bump. We invented this thing. I don't know how exact. One of us gave a thumbs up, and the other one just...
You gave me a thumbs up, and I just fist bumped it with the thumbs up.
It was like, but I kind of like, did I kind of reach for it a little?
Yeah, at the end, you kind of like were like awkwardly like, okay.
Anyway, we invented the fist bump thumbs up, so that's our thing now. But anyway, guys, this one's been kind of long, but we hit a lot of really good stuff. I want to thank all my partners that were all huge like helps to my success out here, except for Seekins because I was using my CVA, but Onyx, Loophold, Barnes Bullets, Mountain Ops, and I don't think I'm forgetting anybody, and CVA obviously. But thanks to those partners. Thanks for listening, guys. Obviously, I always ask if you get a chance to go over to YouTube, so hit the subscribe button, check out the podcast, and then Kobe, where can folks go if they want to check out more of your work?
Yeah, you can find me on the Instagram at kobe.owens, and that is KOBY .owens, and go over, check out the Weatherby page and see what I'm working on over there. That's where you will see a lot of my work coming forward. With this new move, I'm not quite sure how much work will see the light of day on the personal page, and that's
you're off
where
to
you
a
can
new
find
adventure,
me.
man.
It's a new chapter.
You're gonna see big things coming from Kobe at Weatherby and beyond. So follow along with him as well. And man, thanks again. It was a good hunt.
Unforgettable.
Cool, buddy. All right, signing off, guys. See you on the next one.